All you need to walk is a pair of shoes. It might seem like the simplest act in the world, but actually walkers are different. They live longer than car drivers. They live in wealthier neighborhoods than car drivers. They know the city on a different level. They have a better standard of education. And ultimately, if you choose to walk with a strategy, you can actually really develop your productivity, your creativity. It's important to explore your neighborhood, you know. Walkers vote more progressively than car drivers. They have a different approach to how the city works. They don't need to rely on newspapers to know how the city is. They rely on their own experience. They experience less angst. They are happier. It is political to walk through the city. In an age of climate change, you're making no difference at all, whereas everybody else is, almost everybody else is. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, made his lectures to his students as walks through Athens. Not just because he wanted more blood to flow to his students' brains so that they were more engaged. He was also interested in keeping his philosophy grounded in the real world, keeping it real. Charles Dickens walked around London as part of his research into the city, especially at night time. You know, for him it was very important not to make up stories, but to overhear conversations and to understand them. He really wanted to make sure that his books were authentic. Beethoven in West Vienna would write from 9 until 2 and then have a big lunch. But he said that going out for a big walk in the afternoon for 5 hours was a part of his musical composition. He said it was like a bee swarming out for honey. He really needed to get out there. He would bring musical notes with him, make a lot of notes. He understood that walking encourages a different kind of approach to the city. Steve Jobs turned job interviews into walks because he wanted to know more about how people approach the city, how they cross the lights, how they interact with other people on the street, how fast they walk, but also how often they looked at him. So he understood that in comparison with a job interview in an office, that he wanted to go a bit deeper into the psychology of the person. I recommend that you walk not just more, but walk in cities. Most people, when they think about going for a walk, they go to the countryside, they go to parks, they go to lakes, but actually to walk around the city is to build stronger communities, to have more conversations with your neighbors, with people you know. There's no better way to build a community than to have lots of locals playing together, talking to each other, telling stories about each other, ultimately. And we've all had the experience of walking through cities where it seems that people don't know each other that well, but then you walk to another neighborhood and apparently everybody's interested in the other people around them. Walking in cities is about making new connections between neighborhoods. It's also, in terms of your blood flow, it's about developing new neurons and a way in which you can maximize the ideas that are going on in your head. We live in an age of flashing, buzzing excitement on the internet. It's very easy to get distracted. Walkers don't get so distracted. They can actually go deeper into their thinking than people who are on the computers, who are always thinking about their next Facebook like. It's about creativity in the way that people need to react not just with the rhythm of the city. So I recommend that you turn off your music in your ears and listen to the rhythm of the city. Listen to how the city sounds. Listen to the people, listen to the shops, listen to the conversations. Ultimately, get out there, you know? We have the theme of the conference today is out there. I wanted to get out there and explore the city in a new way. Getting out there is partly about maybe crossing the line from being a cyclist to a walker. You can do both, of course. You can be a cyclist and a walker, but walkers get less stressed. You know, they have time, if they've got an idea, to write it down. You know, that makes a big, big difference. That often cyclists will have good ideas, but then they will forget them. I'd like to talk about the way in which you can develop your creativity by we are the only creatures in the world that walk on 2 feet. That means you've got 2 hands free to do something else. And why don't you do that? I'm only halfway through my talk as it goes. We wanted to play with the format a little bit, so let me continue. Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to a concept called street capital. Connected with social capital, the idea of street capital is that we've all walked through neighborhoods where there's almost nobody around. It feels kind of depressing. You think, well, what happened here? How is it that nobody seems to care about hanging out? Whereas there are other neighborhoods where everybody seems to be out there. And it's a very important difference. Street capital. Some streets have got it, some streets haven't. I recently made a walk with Der Standard newspaper, an Austrian newspaper, with a journalist, and we walked from Karmelitermarkt in the north of the city, so a hipster neighborhood, a fairly wealthy neighborhood. There was almost nobody around on the streets in that neighborhood. The sun was shining. We walked through the center of the city, the traditional tourist heart. Plenty of people around, 24 hours a day. Center of Vienna is full of people. It feels good, you know? There's a kind of rhythm to the city. There's action, there's life, there's friendship. We then carried on down past the Hauptbahnhof to Favoriten, which is a neighborhood in the south of the city, to the Viktor Adlermarkt. And that is a neighborhood full of, one of the poorest neighborhoods in Vienna, full of migrants, and it is by far the most entertaining of the 3 neighborhoods we visited. Migrants use social space very differently. You know, often they don't have such big space at home, and they are out talking to each other, hanging out, waiting for stuff, flirting, eating, chatting. You know, street corners are lively places. Jan Gehl talks about the difference, the great Danish architect, between 5-kilometer-per-hour cities and 60-kilometer-per-hour cities. 5-kilometer-per-hour cities are pre-20th century, and they're designed for people to walk through. They're very rich in detail. Think about Venice, think about Vienna, think about the medieval neighborhoods in London. 60-kilometer-per-hour cities, you drive through. They are designed with big, banal messages, big advertising, very little detail at eye level. They're not much fun to walk through. It's a very important difference. I like the hustle and flow of city streets. As mentioned already, you know, a lot of people head for green space, they head for parks. It's an option, but how about checking out your own community, your own people, your own life, you know, reflecting on it, taking time out from the fastness of the internet to actually talk to people, get to know them. I like the choices offered by urban spaces of layers of architecture. You can often decode that you've got 2,000 years of architecture out there in Vienna. You know, you can begin to take that apart. Walkers, as I say, they earn more money. They live in neighborhoods which feel better. There's an American website now, walkscore.com. On walkscore.com, you can put in your neighborhood tonight, just put in your address. It will rate your neighborhood for how walkable it is. And each point, from 1 to 100, it works all over the world. And each point from 1 to 100 on your walk score, where 100 is the max, adds $3,000 to the price of your apartment in the US. There is an actual economic benefit to how walkable your neighborhood is. But much more than that, I'd like to talk about the ways in which urban walking works differently. Walking has become my job now in Vienna, just exploring the city, decoding it, negotiating it. We wanted to tell some new stories about Vienna, but we also wanted to look at the city with new eyes, to design walks which are equally interesting to the Viennese and to visitors, in order that we would have quite a colorful mix on our tours. We make a tour of 20 smells of Vienna, smells like Wien Spirit, 14 good smells, and 6 bad smells. We want to be honest about the city, but in fact, Vienna smells pretty good. We make a tour called Vienna Ugly, which is about the worst architecture in the city. We go from one bad building to another, and the idea there is that the city should not make the same mistakes again. So we celebrate ugliness, and it's a grid that we applied recently to Munich as well, to play a little bit with how Vienna is understood, you can maybe only ever have an ugly tour of a beautiful city, So we want to show the contrast between the good and the bad architecture. We also make, as a revenge tour on the ugly tour, we make a tour about why Vienna has the highest quality of life in the world, which is quite an achievement in 2016, that there's so low inequality here, the great beauty, the parks, the jobs, the way in which the city works, the infrastructure is world class. As I say, it is political to walk now. It's a part of new urban mobility strategy. You are making a difference to climate change. We also organize a silly walks competition. Post Monty Python, we invite the Viennese to do some really silly walks for us on a catwalk. We ask them to treat the city like a catwalk. I think we can learn a lot from the Italians about how to walk. They understand that it's an opportunity to say quite a lot to your neighbors and everybody around you. You also get great street capital in the United States, in many of the inner city neighborhoods. People, understand that walking can say a lot about you. Walking is a metaphor for courage and independence. Think about some of the songs that you might know. Walk on the Wild Side, Radetzky March, These Boots Are Made for Walking, You'll Never Walk Alone. It says something bigger, walk the line, It's about a different approach to the city. The name of my talk is a Led Zeppelin song. Please listen to it, Ramble On. There's a kind of hypocrisy in some Green voters in that they vote for the Green Party, but they don't live so green. They are the second most likely to fly in airplanes in Germany after the Merkel's party. So they think, well, if I vote for a Green Party, that's enough, right? So they don't change their own lifestyle. They just think the government should change things for them. In fact, it's important to live the life. You cannot be more green than walking around the city. It's about belonging to your neighborhood. It's about understanding the little connections. It's about the little grooves. Walkers know little paths between buildings, which I think is an important thing. It's also about anticipation in life. If you walk to parties, you look forward to the party. If life is really stressed, they say that one of the most exciting things about going on holiday is looking forward to going on holiday, imagining yourself there, eating the food, dancing to the music, meeting the people. But often people are so busy in the days before a holiday, they don't have time to anticipate it anymore. So they miss out on that beautiful experience of looking forward to things. It's also about developing in your head. If I want to be creative, I want to just get sentences simple, smooth, sweet. Just work them through in your head over and over again. It's about thinking about the presentations that you do, about just sharpening up your game in general, taking time away from the internet where it's so easy to dick around and look around and actually to go for something a bit more real. A lot of people don't walk because they think the weather is bad, right? There are 1,900 hours of sunshine in Vienna. That is plenty of time to walk around. Only 3% of the year is rain, right? We remember the rain showers. There's not very many of them, Get out there. It's not as cool as cycling. No problem, Cool is overrated in my opinion. Look at me, There's no competition if you're a walker. Cyclists get stressed. There's a lot of rules to cycling. There's even more to driving a car. There's almost no rules to walking, except that the Austrians walk on the right of the footpath, of the pavement. In London, we constantly do that thing of dicking around in front of someone, trying to get past them, where you can't get around somebody. It doesn't happen here because people understand that it's much more efficient to walk on the right of the pavement. It really annoyed me at first. It's actually a really good idea. So how many of you walked here today? Okay. How many of you came by bicycle? All right. How many came on the U-Bahn? Or bus, tram? Okay, and how many of you came in a car? Okay, I'd like to persuade more of you to walk home tonight, It's, the city streets are safe, really very safe, It's very easy to walk home. I think it's important to consider the options. Daniel Kahneman, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, talks about how fast to walk for optimum
creativity, to empty your head of the nonsense and then to actually engage with the street, with the road, with the oxygen, with the new neurons. And he says you should go at 5 kilometers per hour, so about 3.8 miles an hour if you are measuring. Your phones can tell you how long it takes to get from one place to another. It's very easy to find out now how long it's going to take you to negotiate the city. Please try it. It's often a lot faster than you think to get through the city. I recommend walking without music. I mentioned it earlier on. Please try to turn off the music and listen to people. We live atomized lives now. We live individuated lives far away from each other. If you wear earphones, you're saying to the city, I don't really want to be here. I don't want to know you. I don't want to engage with you. Important to take your headphones off, listen to the people. The city's full of possibilities. Vienna is a city in which you meet people all the time on the streets, which is a beautiful thing. In London, it very, very rarely happens that you meet anybody out on the streets. So my recommendation to you is to walk the city. Walk to work, walk to meetings, walk home from the movies, walk to think about arriving at your destination with stories to tell your friends about your urban adventures and your new friends. It's about opening up the possibilities of the city. And you may well end up more progressive and liberal afterwards. I'm sure you are already, but walk with curiosity, courage, and friendship. Thank you.